Let's have some fun and play Where Do They Rank? Who leads this Dallas Stars team in points, goals, and assists this year? Let's talk about it next on Locked On Stars.
Your Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans, and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105.3 The Fan and play-by-play voice of the Chippewa Steel. It's a pleasure to be with you on this Tuesday, October 10th. Just 2 more days until opening night between the Dallas Stars and St. Louis Blues. Make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Almost to 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. You guys are so wonderful. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get there before, I guess, the end of October. Let's shoot for that. That'll be the goal, to rock into November with 2,000 subscribers. And I thought it would be fun today to do some predictions because the next 2 days, want to give my overarching thoughts on the outlook for the season. Tomorrow will be like where I think the Stars will finish in the Central Division, the Western Conference. Where do they end the season and certain things like that. So today I thought it would be fun to kind of mix in predictions in terms of statistical categories. And some of them may be obvious answers, but I feel like with the Stars and the depth that they have, you can have different answers for a lot. And I would love to hear your predictions as well in the comments. I would love to see your feedback on who you think is going to light the lamp quite a bit. I know we're sticking to some of the offensive categories, but I think that's more of a toss-up because you can't really do like wins, I feel like. Because it's like, well, yeah, Ottinger's going to probably have more of the wins because he's probably going to play the most and certain things like that. But I wanted to jump into some of the offensive ones. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. It's download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Go ahead and go to the Game Time app. Alrighty, so we will start with who is going to lead the team in points this season. I'm not going to have a hot take here. I'm going to stick with Jason Robertson. He finished with 109 points last year and, of course, was the leading scorer for the team. He led in both in every category you could as an offensive guy. Goals, assists, you name it. He was in there and did tons of damage on the power play. One of the things that I really loved about him, too, is he scored the goal when it really mattered. 7 GWGs, that led the team too. And that is just so big for a guy. Because it's one thing to score against Arizona. No offense to the Coyotes, but last year wasn't much of a fight with the old Coyotes. Or when you get in on a scoring barrage like they did against Buffalo, where they put up 10. But when you can score that goal when it matters, when you're down by 2 with 5 minutes left, and you need to cut into the lead, goals like that, and of course when you're tied late in the third, can you bury the pill and give your team the win for that night? And of course, he's just so good at it. I think he gets to 115 this year. Finished with 109. I think he gets to 115. I also think he's going to be right in the Hart conversation again. He just seems to have a much higher ceiling than I think many expected. He is so incredible, and that shot is just so deadly. It's weapons grade when he gets it off. And it's just so sly, and goaltenders seem to be stunned every time. I think he gets to 115, has another great year. Of course, leading the way is that top line. And that's why I'm going for second in points. I'm going to go with Roope Hintz. I'm hoping that he stays healthy for the entire season and doesn't have to miss some time. And of course, we have to be cautious about that. He was practicing yesterday and he was in a red jersey, so no contact for Roope, but he is on the opening night roster, which is a good sign. And I'm sure they just want to be extra cautious with Roope, but had 75 last season. I think he sets a career high and gets to 85. I think this team is just going to really, really light the lamp. I think there were 3.3 or something like that for goals per game, and I have to check that to be sure. But I think this team might be flirting with 4 goals a game. I really do. They're going to be amongst the top in the NHL. They were top 10 last year. I think they're going to do it again because there are just so many different ways they can score. They're going to be able to do it off the rush. They're going to be able to do it on the power play. And I think they can grind teams down too if they need to do it that way. I think they're so versatile in their offensive style and the way Pete DeBoer wants to play. It just kind of get up and go, especially wingers and Rope, where it just seems like almost twice a night he's coming unchecked from the red line in, just flying in past everybody, and he gets those breaks, and he's gone. It seems like that is something that is a frequent occurrence, and they're looking for it too. they want to get Rope in space, and when he does, it's a beautiful sight to watch. So I think he gets to 85. He finished with 75. He's always missed a few stretches. Banking on that he stays fully healthy for all 82, or at least close to it. And of course, with him and Robo playing on the same line, they'll be feeding each other all season long, and they get to it. All right, so Joe Pavelski finished 3rd last year in points. I'm not going to have him finish 3rd this year. We're going to go with another veteran. Jamie Benn continues his success. He sustains it for another year. The Renaissance continues for the captain in his 10th season as a captain in a Stars sweater, and he gets to 82 points. He finishes with a point per game. Reaches 80 for the first time since he had his Art Ross win over Matthew Barzal. That's kind of irritating that I thought of him as the Islander. John Tavares was the original Islander that was battling with Jamie and the Art Ross. I think he sustains it for another season. He had 77 last year. Let's bump that up a touch. He gets to play with Wyatt Johnston, who has a year under his belt, and a full season with Evgeny Dadonov. And do not underestimate that re-signing. They did not get Domi, but they got Dadonov. That trio stays together again and was very, very successful. Plays a full season with both of those guys. I think really, really helps the captain. Stays a bit younger again and finishes with 82 points. So I really enjoy. I would really enjoy another fantastic season coming out of Jamie Benn. All righty. Well, that'll wrap up the first segment today. We will talk a bit about the goal situation. Is Robo going to lead the team again in goals? Newsflash, he probably will. That's my pick. But who's going to be right behind him? Okay. Maybe have some interesting answers. Would love to hear your feedback as well. And we'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. The Texas Rangers are returning home for the playoffs, baby, taking on the Baltimore Orioles, looking for a chance to clinch their way to the ALCS for just the 3rd time in franchise history, I should remind you. So go ahead and get tickets, man, and use Game Time. Exclusive flash deals, sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, and of course, hockey. With zone deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks your seats. An average of 18% savings in the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Game Time app. Download it today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Alrighty, back here on Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for joining me once again and making this podcast your first listen of the day. Go ahead and check out yesterday's episode. We talked about basically the final roster for opening night and some of the lineup decisions and the latest roster cuts, including Logan Stankoven, who will start in the NHL, or not the NHL, the AHL, I should say. But good news, too, with all the injuries that were starting to kind of pile up a bit. I wouldn't say pile up, but seemed like every few days there was another guy that kind of was not practicing or not scrimmaging, not playing games in the preseason, but everything seems to be all right. Everybody was practicing yesterday except 3 had a non-contact jersey on, and those included Rope Hintz, Radek Faksa, and Wyatt Johnston, but look to be good to go, and of course are on the opening night roster. Alrighty, continuing our predictions for today's episode. Who will lead the team in lighting the lamp this year? Of course, Jason Robertson finished with 46 last season. Another incredible year for the kid. What a steal in the second round. I know we touch on it and we get reminded of it all the time about what a draft 2017 was, but 3 just altering your franchise type players for the Dallas Stars in that draft. And really, Robo's kind of leading the way. I think he gets to 50 this year. And I think he gets just shy of 60 this time. Well, maybe not just shy. I say he finishes with 52 and, of course, leads the way. So he gets over the half-century mark. I don't know if he quite gets to 60 this year. I think there's just so many options for the Stars where they're not going to be heavily reliant on him scoring as much, which, let's be honest, he's going to take matters into his own hands half the time, and he's going to get the job done. But I don't know if he quite gets to 60. I certainly believe at some point in his career he'll touch 60. I just think it's inevitable with how much he works at it and how just incredible he is at it. But I'm going to say he gets to 52 and, of course, leads the way. And as I mentioned, 7 GWGs last year, was great on the power play, finished with 34 power play points. And of course, he's always on that right flank. And with Miro feeding him on that right side, you got Joe in front. He's going to have multiple chances, and he can beat guys through screens, and he can beat guys from the top of the circles. He can beat guys with the backhand. He's so nifty. The goal he scored in the preseason, I believe it was against St. Louis, where Seguin put it a bit behind him and he dragged it through his legs to his backhand, just outweighted the goaltender and then shoveled it home. It's so great to see. And to watch him on an everyday basis is such a pleasure with a guy that has that kind of knack. Because he truly is just a level above a lot of these guys. I mean, and no offense to guys like Pavelski and Rope and Benn, but the way that he scores his goals just are different. Sometimes you don't know how. Sometimes you're just waiting and you're like, what? But I think that's what great goal scorers do too. He scored a goal, I believe it was against Minnesota last season, where he's like on the goal line and he just fires it at the net and he gets a good bounce. And I think great goal scorers have that. They can score from anywhere at any time. You have to have a body on him. You have to mark him. And he's one of those guys, if he has the puck on his stick, you have to be worried. It doesn't matter where he is. He could be behind the net. He's going to find a way to get it on net, and he's going to have a chance to score. And that's what the great ones do. And Jason Robertson is certainly one of those. And he's becoming a face of the league, which is so thrilling to have another guy in that conversation, because Seguin and Benn were here for years, and now it's kind of the Robo and Miro show that are really getting their time to shine, and he'll continue that this year. Second one, maybe a bit of a surprise. I think Wyatt Johnston eclipses 30 and finishes second in goals. He has it in him, and his shot is so deadly too. Man, his release and the power he can get on it is really, really good, I think. And I think he's going to be a great goal scorer for a while. He did it in juniors, and of course did not do it a lot since since COVID, and he didn't play a ton of junior hockey. He finished with 24 last year, and it was a quiet 24 because the Stars were scoring bunches, it seemed like. And he did the majority of his scoring away from the AAC. I think that goes up a touch this year, and being more comfortable too. And he'll have a full year under his belt. I think he really puts his name on the map this season. Finishes with 35 and finishes second. Quite a sizable gap between him and Robo, but I just think he kind of has a breakout year of goal scoring. And man, if he gets to 35, the Stars are doing a lot of good things. And of course, I believe it was Benn who finished second last year in goals. He finished with 33. So we'll see how the old captain shapes up. I think he finishes third in points, but newsflash, I think he gets a bit more assists, which really helps him out. So Wyatt Johnston comes in at number 2, 35 goals for the young man. That may be a huge jump, but it's only 11 goals, and it was a feeling out process in the first quarter of the season for him. I mean, you don't have to do that this year. He knows what's going on. He kind of is used to the plane rides and which door to enter, what dressing room he's going to, and all that good stuff. There's a lot more guesswork that comes into it. Joe Pavelski finishes at number 3. The Captain America does not slow down. He actually improves from his 28 last season. I think he eclipses 30 once again. He gets to 32 and takes over the 3rd spot for the Stars. Does a ton of it on the power play. He didn't cash in as much last year on the power play as we saw in the previous season because, boy, he had tons of chances, and it just didn't seem like everything went in for him last year. And of course, when he plays with Robo and Hintz, sometimes he just needs to be in the right place, which he is 98% of the time. And that's going to be within that little 10-foot radius circle around the cage where he's looking and digging for loose rebounds. Joe Pavelski, 32 goals, finishes 3rd on this Dallas Stars team. That is where do they rank for goals on Locked On Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you so much for making this your first listen of the day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast, man. Just 2 days away from opening night. So exciting. Just to have meaningful hockey back in October. It's a great time to be a fan in the Metroplex too, besides the Cowboys, okay? Rangers with a chance to make another deep run. Can they match the Dallas Stars in making a I guess it's a not a conference, but could win a pennant. They could get to close to a pennant at least and make it to the semifinals, is how I'll put it, of the World Series, which would be an incredible feat for them. What a turnaround they have. But more importantly, the Stars are beginning their quest for another Stanley Cup. A great season last year. Everything seems to be falling into place, and this could be the season for those Dallas Stars. Let's talk about who is going to be the amazing playmaker for this Dallas Stars team. There's plenty of them, but who is going to be the leading facilitator on this Stars team? And we'll do that next. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is a wonderful place to go get some bets in, baby. And you can snap into the action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. You'd be crazy not to go download the FanDuel app right now. It's so easy. If you've been thinking about doing it, no better time to get into the action We have week 6 coming up in the NFL season. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. You can even sprinkle in some action on some hockey, man. They have Jason Robertson over-unders on points, Mira Heiskanen over-unders on points, and all that good stuff, where guys are going to finish in the certain end-of-the-year trophy voting and all that stuff. And also, you can bet on the Cowboys, man. They need your help, okay? They got bullied last week against the San Francisco 49ers. So maybe don't sprinkle your money on them. But choose a team, okay? Choose another NFL team. So visit FanDuel/Locked On and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Already, final segment underway here on Locked On Stars. Who is going to be this year's facilitator? Had plenty of them last year that were phenomenal at it. Of course, Jason Robertson led the way with assists. He finished with 63, just a point ahead of Miro. And of course, Robo just filled up every offensive category. He took it all for himself, which not going to complain about. But let's see if we can share the love maybe a bit this season. Okay, so my number one assist leader, I'm going to go with Miro this year. I think Miro just continues to get better and better. And I think to really establish himself in the Norris conference, to have a real chance to win it, because we know what it takes now, he has to just take another little baby step in the right direction in terms of getting points, because a lot of it is a point show at the end of the day. So I think he bumps up to 65 assists. He was second on the team last year with 62, excuse me. I think he gets to 65, and he probably ends up with a dozen goals or something like that. And I think that's near 85, and finally puts him in the conversation of can he truly win a Norris? It was kind of a coming out party for him last year, and I think that people now are noticing him more, or at least talking about it. And it even seems in the national media, the Stars are a topic of conversation, like NHL Network and all that stuff, which is a weird spot to be. It seems like, this is a team that's been notorious, kind of just flying under the radar. And then they're one of the few teams standing, it seems like, in recent years. And it's like, man, this team is phenomenal. You don't say, right? So there's some big expectations, I feel like, from a lot of people. And others think that this team's going to have a huge season, which of course I concur with, but almost scary as well, but exciting too, to be in this spot. Okay. Robo, with the amount of points he scores, and if he's going to get 115, like I'm predicting, he's got to be up there in assists. So I think he finishes with 63, same as last year, but just a couple behind Miro, because Miro is going to be on that power play. And this power play is going to be so good. They're going to be so good. That number one unit was so deadly last year, and they were top 5 in the NHL. And that second unit wasn't doing much. You'd be foolish to say that the second unit was a big part of that percentage, because that first unit, it seemed like at some points it took 15 seconds and then it was in the back of the net, and then you're playing full strength again. So Robo finishes there. I'm going with the captain for third this year, because he gets to 82 points this season. He's a point per game guy. His assists go up. He's playing with Wyatt Johnston, who's going to eclipse 30 goals. Need I remind you this time? So Jamie finishes with 50 assists. He ties a career high in assists from that Art Ross year. I think he does it. He had 45 last season, which I would kind of, that's nothing to scoff at. I was a bit blindsided by that when I saw he had 45. I was like, who knows? He had a great year, and I maybe I just didn't realize how great it was when he really dived into some of the numbers. I mean, he was third on the team in points, of course, but I think he dishes 50 assists this year, and of course, he's feeding the old sophomore Wyatt Johnston, and that line's going to be high flying this year. So those are my 3 who will lead the team in assists. You got Miro at 65. He had 33 power play points a season ago. He'll bump that up a bit, because it's Miro, and his ceiling will not be touched. It will just keep going up and up. Robo, of course, continues to just score at an alarming pace. I never thought that Robo was going to be that type of guy where he just scores otherworldly. I didn't think the Stars were ever going to have a guy like that. The McDavids of the world, of course, are even a different level. But, when Miro was on that pace, or not Miro, but when Robo was, on that pace last season, it was like, holy cow. I never believed the Stars would have a guy like that. And maybe that's, being a bit asinine, I guess, is the word I'm looking for, because just the way the game's played today and the amount of offense that is scored. But I just feel like I would never believe that a guy could eclipse 100 points for the Stars. Like, we would never have one, but other teams certainly will. But at this point, it just seems like it's necessary too. You have to have a guy that's in the top 10 scoring in the league to be where you want to be at the end of the year. It just feels like that's something that your team has to be able to do. And of course, Pete DeBoer unlocked that last year with this squad, who was amazing defensively for years, but he took them to a brand new level offensively. And in year two, we're in for a heck of a year. So they're going to put the league on notice. So Miro, Robo, and Jamie, your main three facilitators for this year on this Stars squad. Okay, that will do it for today's episode. Tuesday, October 10th, 2 more days. And of course, hockey starts today. So I hope everybody enjoys their slate of hockey. I think it starts with Nashville in Tampa Bay. And then there's plenty of games throughout the week. So everybody, happy hockey day in America. And it should be a great, great season. Can't wait for Thursday. Tomorrow, be sure to stay tuned. I guess I should say, and maybe you guys, of course, can join along. Final predictions for the 2023-24 season. Where do the Stars stand in the Central Division, Western Conference? Do they win the Stanley Cup? I don't know. You'll have to tune in tomorrow. I may tell you. I may not. I may have good news. I may have bad. And that's the beauty of it. That's a tease, baby. That's what they call it in the biz. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube if you want to see me with my weird hand motions and going off. You can follow me on the X or the Twitter thing, Joey the Jet 19. I throw some stuff out there every once in a while. I have some opinions that I would like people to see sometimes. I won't flood your timeline. I'm right. I'm not one of those guys, but I like to throw my thoughts out there every once in a while. Enjoy your postseason baseball, but more importantly, enjoy some hockey, folks. So long, Stars fans.